Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make good medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Flew in space back in 2002, and I'm traveling the country right now on a bike. My bike's not here, it's in Missoula, but I'm riding across the country on a bicycle from Cape Flattery, Washington to Cape Canaveral, Florida, promoting math and science. And because I'm using my role as an astronaut to hopefully get kids interested in math and science by doing, telling a story about it, doing a blog every day, doing pictures, and doing a problem of the day. A problem of the day, math and science, for students to come in and kind of figure it out. So what I do is I make sure I visit Indian reservations and NASA Explorer schools all across this 4,000-mile journey, and part of that was to come here. And I've had a fabulous time today, and it's been great questions. So I'll go do a slideshow, I guess do an honoring song, and then I'll do a slideshow, and I've got a video too, if you want to hang around and watch that, eating food in space and stuff. And then I'll answer as many questions as y'all have. Fair enough? Okay, cool. Wow, how do you follow that? Wow, that was beautiful. What I do is a couple things today. I did today a presentation geared towards students, and I'll do something else a little bit different today, and then I'll do the video as well. But one thing I really like to do is I like to answer questions. I mean, the question and answer part of this is the most enjoyable part for me, because it gives me a chance to see what you're interested in and sharing the story with you from a perspective of having been there. I'll go through this real quick. I was on a flight back in 2002 to the International Space Station. There's a lot of stuff on the patch. I won't go into all of it. There's a lot of symbology there that we don't always talk about. NASA has an official stuff put on there. I actually initially wanted to have the 4 directions on here as part of that and the colors of that, and I really wanted to, but unfortunately NASA had other things and I wasn't able to do it. But there's a lot of symbology that goes with this. Real quickly, the gold shooting star is an astronaut symbol that was designed by the Mercury astronauts back in the 60s. And just about every patch you see that crew flies has that on there as a tribute to them. The 7 stars of Orion symbolizes the plane that Mike and I both flew. Mike Lopez Alegria and I both flew P3 Orions, and so we snuck that in there. But the 4 stars in the perimeter are the crew, us, and the 3 in the middle are the 3 people we took to space station. And that would have been these 3 folks down here, Ken Bowersox, Nick Budarn, and Sergei Trestyev. The 3 on the other side are the crew we're going to get, who had been there about 184 days by the time we brought them home. And so that was our primary mission. The secondary mission was for Mike and I, this is the best part I thought, was to take this piece up and install it on the side of the space station. And so I'll talk a little bit about that as well. 113 is the Roman numerals, but it spells sexy. I'm just kidding. So, hey, I didn't do that. My commander, he goes, wow, it spells sexy. And I went, okay, I didn't have anything to do with it. So anyway. This is just a little video of a launch, just to give you an idea of what space launch is like from the perspective of, is this working here? Yeah, turn this around a little bit. Hoping it has some audio to it. There we go. This is a view from the bottom looking up. Three main engines, 2 solid rocket boosters, about 7.2 million pounds of thrust, roughly, lifting the whole thing up. You're doing about 100 miles an hour by the time you clear the pad. I'll get away. That head bouncing in the lower left there. Yeah. This is a view out the overhead window as you actually roll over the Atlantic and you head out over the water. You're doing about Mach 1, the speed of sound right about now. See those big shock waves on the vehicle? As you go the speed of sound, you develop shock waves on the vehicle. You actually see them propagating through those are shock waves propagating through the plume. And that's just a pressure wave that you can actually see because the change in pressure changes in the atmospherics. the solids actually fall off and fall back in the ocean about 150 miles off the coast. And the camera on this thing that you see right here has a microphone on it as well. And actually, if I showed the entire video of that, you can actually hear the solid rocket booster come back into the atmosphere and squeal, and the atmosphere pushing on this thing, and the whole metal bending, and you hear it, and it hits the water eventually. It's a big, huge parachute, and it hits the water. And some guys go out and recover it with ships and bring it back, clean it up, and use them again. So, yeah. Well, that's just the fun part. We'll do some other things. We'll go through this part real quick. I'm the little guy right there. My heritage is Chickasaw from this young lady right here. This is my great-grandmother, Bina Underwood, full-blood Chickasaw. My brother's a tall kid with the polka dots, and this is my grandpa with a hand on my shoulder. This is in HUD housing in Ada, Oklahoma, in the Chickasaw Nation. And back at the time, my great-grandmother spoke the language fluently. Now the Chickasaw tribe, I think there's about 30,000 of us now. Only about 1,000 speak the language fluently. Back when I was growing up back there, or I was born back there, she spoke the language, but wouldn't speak it to anybody except people her own age. You just didn't talk about it. It wasn't something she wanted to pass down. Unfortunately for us, as you get older, we usually had that. And a lot of us in the tribe, obviously want to, because there's not that many fluent speakers. And there's a big push in the Chickasaw Nation now to get that going. But Ada's changed a lot since this picture was taken. The Chickasaw Nation is really progressive, like a lot of tribes, and has done a lot for the nation and for the folks in Oklahoma as well. So I moved away from Oklahoma when I was a year old. This was taken in Riverton, Wyoming. I used to live on the Wind River Reservation back in 1969, 70, 71. And my dad was a pilot. He actually took me flying, gave me my first flying lesson when I was about 10 years old. And this plane, 2 seats, and I had a great time flying it, but I thought everybody got a chance to fly airplanes. I didn't realize how fortunate I was. You don't until you get older. Anyway, so. 1976. What? You laugh? What? Okay, the tie, yeah. Wait till you see the next picture. I graduated in 76 with the idea I had to go to college because my parents didn't, and they told me to, and my brother too, but my mom dropped out of high school to raise a family when she was about 15, 16. Had me when she was 20, my brother when she was 17. Went on to become a registered nurse in her 30s, and retired just recently. But I went to college with the idea that I had to study something, but it was left up to me to figure it out. So I thought I'd be a forest ranger. I moved to Colorado. My folks lived at the time, and started majoring in forestry. But I wasn't interested in school. I learned how to rock climb the same year. Spent all my time rock climbing, none of my time studying. I got kicked out of school my first year because I didn't study. I had low grades, a 1.72 grade point, and I got kicked out of school. But I was okay because I didn't really want to be there, and I had no motivation. And the year I got kicked out, I worked for a guy in the mountains as a rock climber. I used to hang off of cliffs as part of a survey crew. And as part of that, I would hold a prism, a little piece of glass, that when you shoot light into it, it goes exactly back where it came from. Time you look in it, you see your own eyeball. It's kind of weird. You always look at your own eyeball. But light travels at a constant velocity, so if you knew how long it took to get from point A to point B and back, you knew the distance. And also, if you knew the angle, you knew X and Y. So I was learning trigonometry, rock climbing, and getting paid $4 an hour to do it. But the guy I worked for convinced me to go back to school, and so I did. And it took about a little bit of time to convince this kid that working in $4 an hour was not the way to make a living. So I went back to school, but I had long hair, and I was a happy guy. Actually, I had hair down past my shoulders. What's that? Yeah, no, actually, it's not. Yeah, probably should have been. Yeah. Yeah, my tribal ID is my hair is really short. It's weird. But the year I changed my major a bunch. I graduated in '83 with a degree in applied math. And the year I graduated, I tutored a guy in calculus who was a retired Navy captain, convinced me to join the Navy. And he was a fighter pilot in World War II, or Dauntless dive bomber pilot, and a helicopter pilot. And he took this kid that was getting ready to graduate and said, well, why don't you think about this? Why don't you go off and do this? And I listened to him. And I joined the Navy in 1983, and I spent the next 22 years in the Navy. And I never imagined I'd be in the military, and I had a fabulous time. I met some of the most talented, hardworking, energetic people I ever worked with were in the military. But I never thought of that when I was growing up because I didn't know anybody in the military. I had this perception that people in the military, didn't have it together and weren't hard workers. That's totally, in my view, absolutely falsehood. I mean, I had the most talented and incredible people I've ever worked with were in the military. So I spent 22 years doing it. I was a test pilot for about 3 years. And when I was a test pilot, I realized that all the people I admired as a kid who were astronauts had been Navy test pilots. A lot of them had been Navy test pilots. Jim Lovell, Apollo 13. John Young, he walked on the moon, Apollo 16. Let's see, he flew twice in every vehicle except Mercury. He was my boss for a while. These guys were Navy pilots as well, naval aviators. Alan Shepard was a naval aviator, test pilot. So I decided there's something I could do, and why not apply for it? And so I did. I applied twice. I was selected in 1996, and I still flew in the front seat of the jet. My nickname is Bone, B-O-N-E, Bone, herringbone. That's it right there, B-O-N-E, on my mask. I took this picture over, actually where I was born. I was flying over Tulsa, Wetumpka, Oklahoma, and front seat of the jet, self-portrait. Hold this camera right here. And it fits in my flight suit pocket perfectly. And yeah, great fun. I mean, I flew the jet, liked to do it, but I also got to walk in space. So in 2002, I got to walk in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. And I'll talk a little bit about this photo. I got another one, but I'm waving at a guy who's inside the truss, upside down. If you look really close, Mike is right there in my visor, upside down. So I got a better picture that's a little bit bigger. Maybe we can see it. How many people in this photo? I'll just count. It's a trick question. Okay, this is Jim Weatherby. He's a commander, wonderful guy, Navy captain. Paul Lockhart's a colonel in the Air Force. Mike, L.A., Navy officer as well, myself. And there's two guys standing behind us because the suit weighs 300 pounds. And they don't want you to fall over in the picture. That'd be bad. So every time I'm actually grimacing in this photo. This hurt. And every time I'd lean over and the guy behind me would go. And they'd take his picture. So there are 6 people in that photo. This is off a launch pad. This is about, we're doing about 100 miles an hour. There's the 3 main engines right here. This big, huge tank right here is about 300,000 gallons of water. And about 20 seconds prior to launch, that thing dumps all of its water on the launch pad. And that's to keep the launch pad from getting torn apart by all the vibrations from the engines. Huge amount of vibrations. It'll actually dump 6 feet of water in less than 20 seconds on top of the mobile launch platform. And these big, huge things they call rainbirds, they're big, not sprinklers, they're big, huge pipes that have shelves on them, and they just throw water out on the launch pad. And if it didn't do that, it would tear the whole thing apart. One of the most recent launches, the flame trench, rocks came off the flame trench and got blown all the way out across the perimeter and tore big, huge holes in the fence, ripped stuff up, and they're trying to fix it right now. But a lot of energy coming out of the bottom of that critter, pushing all the stuff into space. This is the Launch Control Center, the roof of the Launch Control Center. This is my daughter Amanda. This is my daughter Jessica. This is their mom. I'm in that fireball somewhere. Paul Lockhart's wife, his kids, Daria Lopez Alegria. And you actually launch on the surface of the roof because when Challenger happened, all the families were around the media. And the cameras were like right there. And so they protect the families in the event something happens because there's a 1 in 400 chance I'm not going to come home from that flight. And so I told my kids before I flew, I said, do not take a picture of me taken off because I don't want you looking through the lens of a camera at this rocket going up, okay? Well, Amanda's camera is in her hands and Jessica's taking a picture of me, so my kids don't listen to me either. What's that? About 3.5 miles. Anybody ever seen a shuttle launch in person? Anybody? Have you? Describe it. How close were you?
I felt, although it was pretty far away, I still felt it rumbling in
Yeah,
my chest.
you feel vibrations. Yeah.
I felt it right outside.
Yeah.
That's when it was right here. It
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah, there's a crackling noise. There's a really weird crackling noise. It's really funny. This vehicle will lift off and be right about here before you ever hear anything. Because it takes the speed of sound for what you see to hit your ear. And when it hits you, your shirt will vibrate and bounce. On you from the roof of the building, you'll feel it. The whole thing vibrates. All the car alarms in the parking lot will go off. This plume is, a lot of the byproducts from the solid rocket boosters actually produces sulfuric acid if it's raining, or if it'll actually float over you and it will rain sulfuric acid on you if you're not careful. It ruins car paint and stuff. So they warn you, if it's coming towards you, run away and go inside a building. Earlier today, people always ask me, how do you fly in space? Well, you actually go around the Earth. You don't go straight up. This is a time-lapse photo. It's about 7. If you can look really close, the shuttle is right about here. You can follow this. This is the main engines over time-elapsed, and it takes about 8.5 minutes to get to space. And you're doing 17,500 miles an hour by the time the engines quit. And the reason is that as gravity pulls you back, you have to be going so fast that the Earth falls away from you. So you stay in this orbit around the Earth. If you get to a certain altitude, there's a little bit of atmosphere. It actually will slow you down and pull you back into the Earth's atmosphere. So if you're not going 17.5, you usually have to burn another engine to get going faster. So that shows you do not go straight up on the space shuttle. Yes, ma'am.
Describe how
Yeah, I can describe. It was, you ever been on a dirt road on your back and laying on your back on a bumpy dirt road going really fast? For the first 2 minutes, well, not that fast, but it's the first 2 minutes is kind of violent. It's a lot of vibrations. The solid rocket boosters don't burn real smooth, and so all the vibrations that come from them emanate into the, irradiate into the vehicle, and so the whole thing will shake. But once they fall off, then it gets very smooth. I mean, very smooth. But you accelerate really fast. You pull about 2 Gs, twice your body weight, when the solids come off, and then you actually kind of feel like you're slowing down a little bit, but you're not. You don't accelerate as fast. And then by the time the engines quit, you're doing three times your body weight for about a minute. And then when the engines quit, you go from 3 Gs to 0 Gs instantaneously. No, none of this cheek stuff. Because there's no wind. You're in this vehicle. If the wind's blowing in your face, that's a bad thing. So yeah, that would be a bad day. This is on arrival to space station. This is the this is the South Island of New Zealand. That's the North Island of New Zealand, I believe. That's I think that's Auckland right there, maybe Christchurch. This is called Cook Strait, and James Cook sailed the HMS Endeavour through that strait back in the 1700s on his journey through the Pacific, and our vehicle is named after his ship. That was pretty cool. So we're coming up on. I was taken by the 5th crew from the International Space Station, and so this is a picture we took of them. There's solar panels. This is a Russian Progress module back here. It's a cargo module. This is a Russian service module. The bottom of the Russian Soyuz, it's a rescue vehicle. Another Russian piece. American piece, airlock, American. So our job was to balance this picture out. Our job was to put a piece just like this right over here. So you do that in a suit. The suit weighs about 300 pounds, weighs 0 in space, weighs nothing in space. Big thick gloves. I have these little these wrist tethers I used to wrap around my wrist. This is your display and control module. This thing right here controls all your oxygen and all your venting and everything, and keeps your suit hot and cold. You got a little temperature thing here, and all the markings on it. All the markings are backwards because you can't look over your visor and see them. So you have a mirror on your hand to actually look at the markings on the front, so you can manipulate the controls. You ever been in an airplane or gone up in altitude? Your ears start to squeeze, and so you pinch your nose. Well, same thing happens in here. You go down to 4 pounds per square inch of pressure, 4.3, inside the suit, so your ears get blocked, and you have to clear your ears. Well, you can't. See it? Tink, tink, tink. So that little white thing right there is a Valsalva device. You actually stick your nose on it like this and blow, and you can actually equalize your ears. Well, I can blow air out the tear duct of my eye. It's weird. I can blow air out my eye, and in space, since water floats, water comes out. I actually blew water out my eyeball and hit the inside of my visor, and yeah. You can barely hear it, but got a leak in my eye. Tear duct. So I didn't know it, and in space it goes. So, little known fact. There's that picture again. If for some reason I came off a space station, I would float away until this tether stopped me. It's about 55 feet long. But I'll tell you, it'd be a pretty scary float, floating away from a space station. You do not want to let go. And if this breaks, there's a jetpack on my back. You see a little hole right here, and a little hole right there. There's a jetpack that actually will fire jets to stop you, and you can actually fly yourself back to space station. And you do this in a virtual reality lab. They actually will kick you off the station. You sit in a laboratory, and you put this headset on that's got a computer-generated image, and they kick you off a space station at night, tumbling in 3 axes, moving all the way about 1.5 feet per second. And you have to deploy this little gizmo, turn it on, and fly yourself back to space station. First, you got to find it, because it's probably behind you. And once it stops and settles out, then you fly yourself back until you find it. Then you and going straight is not always the best answer, because going straight sometimes, depending on your speed, you might end up going a little bit around it. It's weird. The orbital mechanics play a part, not a lot, but a little bit in space, and when you're close to it. I am out. This gives you an idea how big the Endeavour is. This is the hatch we go through into the laboratory. There's a robotic arm. That's me. I got a Nikon camera in my hand. You can see my tether right here. And I was taking a picture of Mike, and I hope I have it on here. Yeah, that's me taking a picture of him, taking a picture of me. And it's brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. The shuttle's an amazing vehicle. And the media doesn't cover. The media really needs to. cover what we do because it's an amazingly challenging, difficult thing, but it's kind of been there, done that to a lot of people. And every mission is exciting, every mission is dangerous, every mission may not come home, but we do it such a good job, and folks, the engineers are so good that we do come home, and on most of the times. Unfortunately, there's a couple times we haven't. Anyway, Mike is halfway down the space station. It's actually almost twice as long as this now. It's huge. It's a huge space station now. At a chance, this gives you a good view of the Earth. And I'm hanging out on the space station on the robotic arm. I have my feet in a foot restraint. I'm holding on to a 1,000-pound cart. I'm hanging on to 1,000 pounds with my hands. That's pretty cool. It's like grabbing all you guys and hanging on and moving you around. Wait, that doesn't sound, no, it's not. You guys, but you can grab all kinds of stuff in space and float around. It's just amazing. The amount of stuff you can hold with a hand and move around is fantastic. And we're going into a day pass because the space station is going this way, and you can see the night behind us, and it's lighting up in front, and the shadows, the sun's hitting the clouds there. This is another one going into a night pass, so we're coming in this way. The sunset, you can see this is called the Terminator, this big line between light and dark. You get an idea how thin the atmosphere is. And Mike is right here with a camera taking a picture of me. He did a really good job of doing this. He's taking a picture of me right there. And I didn't have a camera in my hands. I went off on the side of this and did some work. There's my tether again. And that's the solar rays that actually charge space station. We backed away after we installed this big piece right here. That piece we installed right there, I climbed all over that. That was great fun. For about 20 hours doing spacewalks. And did some really, I told the kids today, absolutely the most satisfying thing I've ever done professionally is that. Going out and doing spacewalks and be in this environment that I was trained to do and do it well. And things don't always go as they plan. They don't. And overcoming your mistakes, because we made mistakes, and things that we didn't do wrong that we had to solve. And you're a problem solver. And it was great fun. Great fun. Very challenging. This is Mount Etna in Sicily, and a bunch of years ago I was a test pilot, and I flew to Sicily, and I actually rode a car up to the crater, and I stopped short, got out and looked around. It wasn't erupting at the time, so on the way back down, I asked the driver of this car that took us up there if I could actually run back down the volcano, because I'm a runner. I thought it'd be pretty cool, right? I don't think he spoke English, because he said yes. And so I start running down the side of this volcano, and I was jumping over these cracks. Every time I jumped over the crack, I felt this heat coming up. Yeah, smart move, John. So when I was in space, it erupted, and I took a picture of Mount Etna erupting. So if you can imagine, this plume goes up to about 60, 70,000 feet, and a jet stream is pushing it out across the Mediterranean. Pretty remarkable picture. This is inside of the flight deck of the space shuttle. To give you an idea of books, this is what books do in 0G. My crew notebook. You open it up, and it just goes, and you lose your place. Everything's Velcroed. There's clips. You have big clips to hold on checklists. Jim and Paul Lockhart are both wearing long underwear, jackets, a G-suit right here to keep you from passing out when you come home. Keeps all the blood in your upper torso. It's about 40-something degrees in the space shuttle because we're getting ready to come home, and you actually cold soak the inside of the shuttle because it gets really warm coming home. And you get an idea how many switches you have to memorize and just how technical a space shuttle is compared to a regular airplane. And all that white stuff, it's Velcroed. All these are checklists. These are checklists everywhere. And these are real important checklists that have all emergency procedures and such. I sat right here, and Mike sat right. Actually, on the way home, I sat up there by myself. It was these two and myself. Mike went downstairs with our crewmates, and it brought him home. So this was landing. 3 main engines don't work at all when you come home because the fuel tank is not there. These 2 engines get you in and out of orbit. And it's amazing, when we came home, I could barely move. I felt like somebody had just loaded me up with 1,000 pounds. I mean, it was only a G1/2, but I felt so heavy. I was nauseated. We stopped, and when you stop, there's a convoy of trucks that goes in front of you. So my head is still going that way. I'm watching a set of trucks go this way. I have to look up to do some switches, and I lost it. I mean, it was just, I just started tumbling and felt nauseated, couldn't walk. Sweating profusely. My heart was just racing. It was weird. I never expected that. I've taken folks out of shuttle before because I did this job to remove folks from shuttle, and I'd see people that were, having a hard time. I'm going, that's not going to be me. I was that and then some, and I have no idea why. No, everybody's different. So.
With what the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had, right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you had right there, are they doing any studying to? Well, I think the effects you
Yeah, right out of the bat. I mean, right when I get off the vehicle, I have to do stuff. And because every rookie does certain things when they come back. And one of the things is, I finally walked off the vehicle. My kids saw me. They told me my kids wouldn't see me come off the vehicle, but they did. They saw me, and I was wobbling. And they put you on a tilt table, and they actually sit you on the table. They put a ultrasound on your carotid artery. They also put a blood pressure cuff on you, the EKG. And they sit you on this table. Then they tilt you up about like this. And you're strapped to the table, so you're not going to fall. So you're standing there, and what happens, you ever stand up and you get dizzy? You get that dizzy because all the blood stays down your lower extremities, it leaves your brain for a little bit, and you go, and pretty soon your heart does its job. Well, what happens, your veins constrict. Anytime like that, your veins will constrict. As your blood pressure comes down, your veins will constrict to keep the blood pressure up so you can function. So what happens, you come back and they do that, your veins will constrict, and they'll go, yeah. About 9 minutes and 30 seconds, they say, I'm done. I'm tired of this. And they go, whoop. And so 9 minutes and 40 seconds, my blood pressure went, boo, and you pass out. And they lower you back down. So they want to see how well your body adapts to being in space and how long you can do this. Most folks will pass out at some time in there. Some folks don't, but everybody's different, you know. So when you're in zero G, your body is very adaptable to it, and it's amazing. Let me show you something else real quick. You want to see a video? Let's do the video. Maybe it comes up here. Hello. Yeah. Okay, this is about 13 minutes, and then we'll do some Q&A.
Good Medicine is your program. We hope you watch this and subsequent programs to stay informed about your health care, and we'd like to hear from you about how we're doing. Please direct any comments or suggestions you have to us. You can reach us at
pretty quick and come back. Yeah, it's amazing how fast you go. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. This is actually a sped up photo. We're not going that fast. You're going fast, but when you dock, you're doing about 1/10 of a foot per second. So equivalent to 2 people walking, or 1 person walking, is about how fast you are. And that's the target you fly to get there. This is the next is our entry into the station.
Commander, Expedition 6 open hatch. This is very important things.
Yes. Hey, привет.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Okay, so who's the Russian and who's the American?
Congratulations.
American speaking Russian and the Russian speaking English. Yeah. Yes. Larry's on the left, and there's Peggy there. Yeah, we're the ride home, you know. Yeah, they're pretty happy to see us. Yeah, yeah. That suit, like I say, a suit weighs 300 pounds, but you obviously weighs nothing in space. And this is transferring cargo. There's that book in 0G. We're putting dish soap on our visors because it keeps them from fogging up, so you don't fog up out in space. This is on the flight deck of the shuttle, looking out the back windows, and Jim's job is to use the robotic arm to lift this large cargo out of the payload bay. And he has a bunch of cameras. There's some videos right here. Ken helps him. Everybody's watching over everybody because you get what's called space stupid. It's hard because all of a sudden now you have to control yourself because you're floating. And now that's one thing you don't have to do down here is you don't worry about standing. We're just all enjoying sitting here, right? Well, in space, this would not be as enjoyable. It'd be fun, but still be bumping into each other. So anyway, that's we're breathing 100% oxygen to get rid of in our blood because when you go in the suit to low pressure, all the nitrogen in your blood will actually come out as a bubble, and you get bends like a deep sea diver or scuba diver. And so you get rid of the nitrogen so it doesn't happen because you go down the suit to really low pressure. Otherwise, it's the only way you can do work in that suit. Otherwise, it's just too stiff. You'd be this big Michelin man that couldn't move. So anyway, he handed off the big payload to Peggy. Peggy grabs it. It's about the size of a school bus. If you can imagine grabbing it from the front door of the school bus, and she had to swing it in place. Looking at 3 camera views. She actually has to figure out, look at the camera views, how she's not going to hit something. And not looking out, she can't look out the window because the window does not look that way. It looks down at the earth. Everybody helps you get your suits on, bolted to the wall. We installed that piece on the left. The piece on the right was already there, obviously. That's S0 truss and P1 truss. P1 is the one on the top. Nice phone. And then I'm on the right, Mike is on the left, Don's in the middle, Paul is reading the checklist. We're playing some Spanish pop music called Los Ketchup in the background. And they had this little dance that went with it, but that's beside the point. See Mike's feet, my head in the airlock. I weigh about 500 pounds there, but they shove you inside and they close the hatch and they wave at you. And then you go outside. Actually, he did that. He took pictures of that little hatch of me leaving, going out. And this is inside the U.S. laboratory. Don's actually commanding a computer to bolt this thing together. There's 4 big bolts that hold it together. And then Mike and I went out and did our spacewalks. Mike is in the red stripes right there. I'm in the white stripes. Actually, I have white stripes on my legs. And I came out, that's an antenna.